Joining us now, U.S. national editor for the Financial Times, Ed Luce, and Arkansas soybean farmer Scott Brown. Scott, the hits just keep on coming. I'll come to you in that in a moment. But Ed, first off, explain why Argentina is in need of this bailout.
Well, President Milei has imposed. Remember, Argentina is the most bankrupted country in history. It's defaulted 9 times on its sovereign debt. So this isn't a new story for Argentina. President Milei has imposed this austerity package to bring down hyperinflation. It succeeded for a while, but the hardship it imposed on the Argentinian voter led to his party's defeat in local elections a few weeks ago, in early September, which panicked the markets that he wasn't going to be able to sustain this strong peso, which he's used to keep inflation down, and therefore people started selling the peso. And that led to a run on the currency and the usual balance of payments problems that Argentina has chronically suffered from. And Milei now faces midterm elections in a few days from now, at the end of October. And if he loses those, then this once sort of globally praised experiment, libertarian experiment, will probably be over, because the opposition Peronista party are very opposed to these measures. So Trump's giving him $20 billion, pretty much with no strings attached and with no possibility of regional contagion. This is not like Mexico in the 90s or the Asian economies in the late 90s or the great financial crisis. This is a problem in one country. And the fact that he's giving this $20 billion credit swap line, but it's free money, at a time when the US government is shut down and when America's farmers are really suffering from the trade war and the close off of their export markets. And on top of that, that China is now buying its soybean from Argentina and not the United States. Well, you know, this has the makings of a really egregious step by the president, to put it mildly.
Yeah, I'm going to get to the domestic politics in a moment, but just one more on the motivation here. Why would the U.S. do any of that? Why would they want to save Argentina's economy in that way, Milei's presidency or his ruling coalition? What's in it for us?
Well, so you must remember that Milei is a real darling of the MAGA right. And in fact, the CPAC conference was held in Buenos Aires last December with Milei as the star of the show and many of Trump's incoming cabinet going down there to speak. And Milei, of course, was famous with the chainsaw. He's taken that metaphorical chainsaw to the government bureaucracy in Buenos Aires, and he presented a real chainsaw to Elon Musk a few weeks after Trump was inaugurated. So he is a buddy. He's a great friend. And I think that's part of it. And another part of it is that a lot of big American hedge funds are heavily exposed, are heavily reliant in their investments and bets on the success of the Milei experiment. And if that fails, a lot of people who are very close to Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent are going to take a haircut, as they say, in the markets.
Well, that's interesting. Donald Trump was asked what makes Argentina so worthy of this. Here's what he said.
How is this Argentina rescue package America first? And is this rescue package meant to help President Milei's party in the coming election?
No, it's really meant to help a good financial philosophy where Argentina can, after 20 years of disaster, because it was very successful at one point, and it can be again, like Venezuela. Venezuela was very, very successful, and now it's a dictatorship. We want to help Argentina, and we want to always help ourselves, but we want to help Argentina.
Okay, so Scott, what do you think of that?
Well, I think you've got a bigger problem. I think somebody needs to ask Argentina what they did with the $18 billion that China gave them in 2009 that they haven't paid back yet. So now in 16 years, Argentina's got $38 billion of money to prop their economy up while it does nothing but knife me at home. They filled my orders in China. They will fill the bean meal orders. I mean, in what world is it good to loan people, the worst person in the world, to pay back money to prop up their economy, to protect hedge funds, who are deeply immersed in the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. Every morning when I watch the market, they tell me if the funds are long or short, and that tells me what my grains are. It's not supply and demand. It's what the funds do. So how is this a good deal for me at all?
What if the administration is giving you and other farmers a bailout? Does that help?
Well, I want trade, not aid. I mean, I understand that there's a lot of boys that's painted in a corner and they're not going to survive without it. But bailing out Argentina doesn't help my market.
The Trump administration admits farmers are not doing well under President Trump's tariffs, most especially soybean farmers. The, quote, collateral damage, as Politico puts it, in the president's trade war with China. Since May, China has not purchased a single U.S. soybean, not a one, according to the American Soybean Association, turning instead to Brazil and Argentina. That last country there, one that the Trump administration decided to send a $25 million aid package, a bailout that could be backfiring, according to Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins. You just heard what she says to reporters in public. Well, here's what she says in private to other officials. She sent a text message to the Treasury Secretary last week while he was at the UN. Here is a picture of it. The message, photographed by the AP, showed Rollins worrying to Bessent, saying, quote, "We bailed out Argentina yesterday, and in return, the Argentines removed their export tariffs on grains, reducing their price, and sold a bunch of soybeans to China at a time when we would normally be selling to China," adding, "This gives China more leverage on us." Joining us now, Arkansas soybean farmer Scott Brown. Scott, good to have you back. Like to see you on that combine.
Thanks for having me, Katie.
All right, so I thought it was interesting seeing what Brooke Rollins said to reporters there at the White House and the way that she spoke to the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent. Why might she be so worried about the soybean market?
Well, like we talked earlier, we went from 12 billion to zero. And then, you know, as a farmer, we get up one morning and you give Argentina, which is our second biggest competition in the world. They're the largest exporters of soybean meal in the world. So I get up one morning, I turn the news on, and you give $20 billion of taxpayer money to my competition. And then the Chinese buy, I think the figure is 30 or 40 containers, ships, which is about 65,000 metric tons per ship, which is like 2.2 million bushels. So they buy 12 or 14 billion dollars worth of soybeans from the Argentinians after the tax holiday. And here's the caveat to it. They give $2.30 over the November board, while I'm getting 50 cents under the November board. So that makes the Argentinian soybeans about $12.42 a bushel. I think that's the real figure they gave. So all my premium went.
Scott, I just lost you there at the end. You said your premiums go?
They all went to Argentina.
Yeah. All right. She says that don't worry. It's a time of uncertainty, Brooke Rollins does. Hang on. Relief is just around the corner. What would that relief be? Do you see it coming?
I don't know. I mean, how do you give me relief through the CCC with the government shutdown? We were going to plant canola this month. It's one of the few things we've found. It's moved into Arkansas. They're going to make renewable jet fuel and renewable diesel of it. We've never raised any. I had to get a loan from FSA to do it because it's an uninsurable crop through the federal crop insurance, but they would let me do it through the NAP insurance. Well, I can't even get the loan for it because there's nobody at the FSA office. There's nobody at the NRCS office. We've shut the government down. They all went home.
I'm laughing because it sounds ridiculous. What do you do then? What do you do? You're a soybean farmer. Last time I talked to you, you said you believe you're going to break even. Are you still on track to break even?
I don't know. I've lost 10% of market share since we talked last. I've lost another $12 an acre for the difference in the market when we talked last to where I'm at today. The
That was like a month ago.
Every day. Yeah. Lost another $12 an acre since then on 500 acres.
How are your other farmers, for your friends, feeling? I know a lot of them are Trump supporters. Do they still feel good?
Everybody's pretty nervous. Everybody's pretty scared. There's some of the older guys that, you know, farm out of their pocket. They're like, I'm not doing this again. I'm not giving back 30 years worth of work. Everybody's scared to death. I got friends that are bankers that, will tell you the bank examiners is already telling them, look, you're going to have to deal with these guys because their equipment's not going to be worth as much. Their land's not going to be worth as much. I mean, this is exactly like the movie from the 80s with Sam Shepard and Jessica Lange Country. That's what's going to go down. They're going to sell people out.
Jeez. All right. I have some solace for you, and that is we kept Senator John Tester around. I know you like him a lot, to say hello.
Oh, he's my hero.
Well, I've put you guys on television together. I'm not sure if you can see him out there, Scott, but Scott, meet Senator Tester.
Hello,
How you
Senator.
doing, Scott?
I talked to your office several times. When me and you was beating the drum pretty hard trying to get the light.
Farmers, they are criticizing Trump. Due to his tariffs have caused them harm. I now understand that there is a very plausible claim could be made that many farmers supported Trump, and both he and they were open about wanting to impose tariffs, and that these farmers ought to have understood what that meant. They are entrepreneurs. They comprehend when foreigners fail to pay the tariffs. Americans do, and they will to be required to pay them, or businesses must give them money. Well, or there will be reprisals from other nations, and that tariffs will be raised on the products going to those nations, indicating that it will cost extra for Chinese customers, implying that they will purchase less of it. Apart from that, they should have been aware. And Trump did something akin to what happened during his first term. That apart from that, they had the right to be upset. Though, as Trump did state tariffs were something he would do, but he also made a certain set of commitments with the tariffs. That particular one, it would reduce costs, and 2, it would increase domestic manufacturing of all goods. Moreover, thus, these farmers were successfully informed by Trump, and perhaps they shouldn't have trusted him, but he is the president. And he did, in a sense, deceive them, at least intellectually. He essentially stated, well, we're going to make everything. So you soybean growers in America are selling both your soybeans, and your Americans are familiar with farm things, businesses, and they will produce those things in America, so we won't need to be concerned about tariffs because everything will be created here at some point. Now, stuff will be made here. Additionally, when that ultimately didn't occur, and they ended hurting as there's now less of a market for their products since it's more costly. And as it happens, that when Trump says, well, we're going to support farmers, as well as this, that, they're not genuinely assisting the farmers. They're making purchases and time and effort to save a far-right nut job in Argentina, huh? As it happens, it's a hellhole. The rise of poverty and their government is about to complete collapse. Consequently, because Donald Trump is a billionaire on the right, I'm going to save them. However, how does that benefit Americans? It doesn't. It does not assist Americans. First, it doesn't aid Americans as a result of saving anywhere in the world. A far-right voice strengthens the far-right movement, which is detrimental to the world, and so detrimental for the working class in America and the class of farmers. However, you also need to keep in mind that saving them will genuinely assist Argentine farmers more compared to farmers in America. And I didn't get sick. Will in favor of Argentine farmers. I hope the best for them. However, if I'm Canadian, but if I'm American, I'm being screwed by America and my president, implementing his regulations and saving the farming class of a friendly country prior to he saves me in Iowa, Arkansas, or yes, any place, which supported Trump. Yes, I would be furious. If anything, that would make me much more irate than these.